Hi guys. So today is Thursday, the 13th of June 2019, and I feel like, well, there's a lot more that can be said. It's like going to be a bit of a sequel to yesterday's episode about coming into contact with like a baby awareness that's been sort of locked away inside of me all this time, really. So I had a couple of interesting cards. I had a couple of interesting thoughts. I've been journaling quite a bit, and as always, that just does me the world of good. I tend to use, where is it? Where is it? Right here. These types of dummy books. They're bound, and it's kind of a creamy, non-lined paper, and I use them. This is actually number 23. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a big pile of those, and I just keep adding on to them. I feel like because there's no lines, I can actually also draw or sketch bits and bobs, or copy out a bit of a spread or something that I've been using, or astrological details about bits and charts and bobs and what have you, or glue in pictures, or train tickets and all that jazz, all the good stuff. So the whole inner child thing, I am basically a bit in a state of almost bewilderment, I think would be the right term to use. Because there's something that was hidden inside of me that's actually so important to me, and it was like it was behind a brick wall and I couldn't get at it. And that's really what's just like, how are we supposed to make progress with ourselves if what we have to do for 50 years is, break down barriers that we have apparently also erected ourselves? Duh. Nobody else made that wall. I did it somehow. So there's thoughts about that, and let me first show you the cards that I had yesterday. After I did the vlog, I felt indeed a lot better because of being able to put things into words and being able to use cards again and sort of communicate with people out there my thoughts and impressions. And then I get this, I actually do have a position where I can actually have a perspective, So, because I do have individual people, but it's kind of really important to me to have a platform, which is actually my channel, really. So I can do things here that I have never done in my life. I can share things that are sort of, it's all coming together, and that's wonderful. And it's like incredible how long and convoluted the road has been, and still we're coming to this, to the view now. And I don't know, there's just a lot of the strain is kind of falling away, actually. And so finally, sheesh. And I don't think I've actually really said that so far, that I actually do feel a lot better. And it's incredible. It's just, and I sit here holding my central card that I had in the Kuzandar yesterday evening, which is the Queen of Swords, an Egyptian themed card. And it had to the left and the right of it the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups, like so. So that was really appropriate, as to also for me to keep in mind that there are two people here. Okay, there is the baby person that I was just after I was born, in fact. So maybe the first year of my life or so, or maybe a year and maybe 2 years if I include the time in my mother's womb as well. So more or less that stage of not starting really to develop yet, just being in a body for the first period of time. But that's the one person, okay? So at that person that I was at that point is really coming into focus now, and it's really becoming more and more important, and I'm thinking about that and writing about that a lot. But there's also this person, the person that you see here, who apparently has this Queen of Swords state of affairs about her, about me, maybe I should even say, that I can actually, you know, look at things and see the perspectives. And I have been through all this, and here I am. So I made it through, and I can see both the Ace of Pentacles, I guess, and the Ace of Cups. And there's all sorts of consequences to looking at either card or at either side of life. So I'm continually invited or pressured, if you like, to think about things, to reevaluate, because the ace is the first and the last thing that strikes me again and again when I go into this type of communicating inside with this baby awareness, is that it's actually the state of the ace, really, and not the Ace of Wands or the Ace of Swords. Thank you very much, because those I would assume they would apply at a later stage in life. So maybe you will get into contact first with the Ace of Wands after this, okay, at around, I don't know, age 4 or so. And the Ace of Swords will come into play later, where you're starting to actually sort of choose things and defend yourself and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm assuming here. So the aces in this case are kind of sort of an illustration to me of what I keep getting of this baby state of affairs that was mine, really, back then, in that it was a state where there was absolutely no stuff in my awareness. And that's maybe the single most important, and maybe also single most convincing tale that I have to tell at this point, is that all the stuff, and that includes memories, emotions, preferences, they're tools, and we learn to use the tools afterwards. Probably most of us, to some extent, to whichever extent that applies to us. But that's what's really been striking. I have been living with this concrete wall, or this, like what you call that, a cocoon, okay, around this baby consciousness that was still inside of me. I've lugged this around, through my life always, and it was completely inaccessible, and it hasn't really grown or developed from there on out, because if that had been the case, there wouldn't have been any concrete walls, okay, or any cocoon around it. It was yay bigger, plastered around, completely shut off side of perception, really. And it's crucial, because the baby awareness is all about perception and receptivity. So no tools, no furniture, no things, nothing. There was really nothing in there except pure self, pure awareness. And it's an extraordinary thing to experience that. I can go back there now, back in and out as I like, and I am welcome, and I welcome it. So that just feels so good. Oh, you guys, if I could just communicate to you how amazing that feels, that's just what I want to do really here. And of course I want to talk about things and analyze things and nar. And yeah, And I will, because now that I've gotten into this, I will, probably be here for a bit. But I should stress also again, and I should keep coming back at this, that it feels extraordinary, and it feels like coming home in yourself. It feels like I can look at my parsley plants outside and see them for what they are. It's like maybe the cocoon wasn't completely closed off. Maybe there was always like a tiny little exchange with the outside world, and because I've always loved parsley. So it's just one of those things. I love crystals, I love my animals, I love my husband, my house. All that is coming more and more into focus emotionally. So everything is, coming together beautifully, and it's making me feel so much better. All the dissociation and all the fragmentation is being resolved. So hallelujah. Can I have an amen? Damn it. Because sheesh, it's been a lot of work. Like I said, overcoming basically my own barriers. And so those were yesterday's cards, really, and I thought they were perfect. So I just had to talk to you about those guys, about those cards, about those elements there. The other thing that I tried to do just now is I tried to pick a couple of Visconti Sforza cards for what I was doing just now. And the first one that I got was the Knight of Swords. And I went like, oh, not again. Here we go again. I have to be rational about things or blah, whatever. So I thought, well, I'll pick up a couple of more cards. And then I thought, maybe this isn't about me. Maybe this is really about my dad. Because I've been writing also about him quite a bit. And about the interaction between my parents and between what happened really when I was an infant. So when I was like, let's say 6 months old or something like that, of which of course I have no memory because there wasn't really all that much for me to, I don't know how that works. How does memory really work? I suppose it's really a matter of, one thing I can think of at this moment is like it works by contrast. So as you experience things, you get to know different expressions of the same type of experience, and then you start slowly to learn how to contrast them with each other, and that's how sort of your memory processes take off, I think. And then depending on how often you access those memories again, they will stay. But if you move house like we did 4 or 5 times in a row, then of course that's different again. I don't know exactly how that would be different, but it's different. So I was thinking about my parents and also about why I have been in this cocoon for so long, and why it has been so difficult, and why I have been so, what could possibly have caused this psychological malfunction, let's just call it that. Because, okay, so my other cards, okay, after the Knight of Swords, I got the Papessa, the priestess, churchy type figure here with the book and the staff in a position of authority. And then I thought, okay, so let's assume these two are my parents then, because that kind of fits, especially also because I felt like they were, if you look at the actual cards, you can see that they're all clothed or even armored, like up to here. So all you really see of the people are, in both cases, the faces, and in her case, the hands also. And that's it, really. All the rest of it is just completely, she's got this like some type of a medieval veil or so bound around her face. So you don't even see any of this. So that's tough, I think. It also, to me, that sort of exemplifies or shows how they communicate. I feel I am being very open, communicating here about things that people should talk about, I think, or that I at least like to talk about. And so you always tend to see this area here, even although maybe in winter I will wear pulleys and then I'm also up to here, but that's less comfortable for me, except, if it's cold, of course, you want to bundle up like that. But that's not the case here. These people are in a position, and the position is what you get to see. And the position is completely in an armor of some sort. So you don't get to see the people, you get to see their functions, basically. I am elaborating on just half an idea that I had here, but this applies to my parents no end. So, of course, suspense, drum roll here, the card that keeps coming out at the moment, it's the third time in 2 days, and the card that I would like to see apply here to my situation with my parents at that point. Okay, so let's say 6 months old or what have you, around that time. The Ten of Swords. Yowzer. When that one came out, I felt like, oh, okay. I don't want to see Ten of Swords. I don't want to see the Ten of Swords. I'm so done with this, So, and that's basically also half of the problem, I think, is that I want to have an ideal life. I want to have, the dream life, like everybody happy and just cheerful, and let's just enjoy the summer, and I don't want to be in all this trouble always, and I just don't want to die, and I don't want to, I don't want to die. How much sense does that make? Of course. So, merciless cards, thank you very much. I will stick you back in the pack now, I think, because the thing is that I don't really have any actual proper memories about events. There are a couple of memories that I have about events that led to a Ten of Swords type situation, and I have been telling myself, and now I'm telling you, that when there are these memories, then of course there was more. So it wasn't necessarily like there was more of that exact thing going on, but if those things hit me so hard, it was because nothing really worked all that well. So it's not, I have seriously thought up to a couple of years ago that those memories of, getting shouted at and beaten up and things like that, that they were incidents. And they were incidental, and the rest of life was just fine and dandy. And of course it wasn't. It's just not even realistic to think about it that way. So, if I go into my baby awareness, I have this inner sense in myself of peace and quiet and harmony, and stunningly, really, a sense of welcome and of inner faith, even. Just, I don't know, it's completely peaceful. And I'm so surprised because I have fought with myself as long as I can remember. So not to have an antagonist inside me who's trying to beat the crap out of me is already completely extraordinary. So this sense of peace and faith even and trust is extraordinary to me. And what then happens is, like, I do kind of get a sense of there being noise in the house and shouting and slamming of doors and that type of thing. And basically what's also, I suppose, making this, I don't know, a bit difficult to get hold of exactly, because of course we want to know exactly the nature of the problem so we can figure out what the solution is supposed to be, blah and blah, and so on. Um, there wasn't really anything all that specific, I think, except that my mother did used to get frustrated also with me, and if I was crying, she used to shake me up and stuff like that. So that can't have been all that pleasant, but I'm not sure, but I don't think I was all that scared of my mother when I was a really small baby. It wasn't like that. It was just that there was a constant tension, and a lot of it has to do with my dad. So not with her, but with him. And it's like the baby awareness, because it doesn't have any tools or any imagination or any memories or any of it, it will just tell it like it is. And we have grown away from that, and I have done the thing where, as I was growing up, people reacted in a positive way to me if I was being cute and I don't know, funny, and showed fun and happiness. So I did the happy girl show, you know? I was just prancing around, just like those whatchamacallit, the I don't really have any personal experience with that, but those little girls that get all dolled up in competitions and they get all their hair done like that and makeup put on and mascara on, 4-year-old girls. Ugh. Yeah, well, not my cup of tea. Actually, I was like that. I don't like it because that was me, except without the mascara, but I just did everything I could to be this, la-di-da, happy little camper, because then I was harmless, kind of, and that's what people identified me as immediately, of course, and then they sort of, I had some type of, I don't know, apparently some type of less unpleasant interaction with them. Most of the time it worked out fine, but it wasn't real, and it didn't have anything to do with the way I felt or who I was, really. It was only, and that's something that I find that I really have to sort of redefine for myself also. I wasn't necessarily unhappy, only the vibration of that particular type of happiness just didn't really, it was a lie. Because I was just I was doing an act when I was 4 years old, and afterwards, forever, pretending to be this cute girl, and in the years it became more and more difficult. So it was even sort of an accomplishment to later, after my 30s or so, to sort of get back to that vibration, even for a while, to incorporate some of the happy girl vibrations was already quite a challenge, and quite an accomplishment, and quite a bit of a feeling of relief of reintegrating a part of myself. You see? So even though it was a lie, it was my lie, and getting back to that after all the misery of, whatever I did to myself, growing up and becoming a student and having to look after my mother, who was an invalid, and all that. There was just no fun to be had anywhere. So, like, after my mother passed away, I went into oil painting, and that felt really good because I could really explore all sorts of technical possibilities, and I could, try things out. And I had a ton of fun for a couple of years. Doing oil painting basically almost every day. And that was really, I don't know, she passed away in end of 1995, and I started oil painting in 96 in the spring, in the summer somewhere. So after that, for quite, 4 or 5 years or so, I was painting almost every day, and I had so much fun. And doing that was like giving myself permission for the first time to start exploring what I could do, what I could make, and being creative had always been okay. and not feeling capable of being creative was misery for me. I need still to be making something or other. Although less now. At the moment, in this time of things, at the moment, it's more like I like to think about things again, and I'm basically just so in a state of, like I said, it's like finally things are really coming together, and I'll be creative again. I'll start drawing again or writing or whatever. All this, what I'm doing at this moment, is also some type of creative work. And so, even though it doesn't look like, nice curly bits and flowers, you just have to imagine those. So, all that being said, what I didn't mention yet, that person last week who set off the process that I have been coming out of slowly, as you have seen recently. I had to look up. I found by accident her date of birth on the internet, and it's actually her date because I could tell what it said on the website, so that makes sense. I'm sure that it's her date, okay? And that very morning, I was upset already because my astrology program on my little laptop computer over here had broken down completely, or it had been a Windows update and the whole thing. All my files were gone again. So I was, stressed out because I couldn't look up any more astrology files. And I was looking at that moment, wanting to get back to my grandmother's astrological chart. I'd actually even done a vlog about that, only I hadn't put it up because in the end I didn't feel like you guys would really enjoy all that much just looking at this chart on the screen and me just pointing things out like this. So I didn't think that would be particularly helpful, but I had been working on that all that week. And here's the thing. This is actually like a teeny weeny picture of, can you see? Oh geez, there's a glare, like so. So there's me as a kiddo, probably in 1970 or so. So there's me, 4 years old, and the woman next to me is my grandma. That grandma, my father's mother, okay, was born on the exact same day, the 26th of November, as this person who you shouted at me last week. The same day, I am looking at two charts of the same date, except for 50 years difference, exactly. So here I am again, like going, and it's not the 28th and not the 27th, it's the actual 26th with exactly 50 years in between. So I'm going like, universe, what are you trying to tell me? I don't get this. And my grandma and I used to get along just fine, but then again, I was always being the cute girl. So, and she didn't have an easy life. And one of the things that I'm going to just point out here slightly, and then I'm going to wrap it up for now, is that one of the basic problems that I figured out from my coming from this baby awareness, really, of that period in time, which was before this picture was taken, obviously, was that my mother was actually rather good, I think, at being a homemaker. It's one of the things that were expected of her in the 50s and 60s. And she was a Taurus. So looking after the house to some extent, her own mother was less of a caring person, but very good at the householdy stuff. My mom was less of a householdy woman, but she liked to cook. And she wanted very badly for, and I know this because she told me several times over the years, back in the day, she wanted to have a home. It could be really simple, but to have a place that would welcome those who lived there And she had like this dream in a way of a home that would provide stability and comfort and all the good things, and rest, and where you'd be safe and where you'd feel welcome and looked after and cared for. So that was a vibration that she tried to give to my father, and my dad couldn't accept that. And I could sort of see how he had expectations of what his life with her should be, in a way. I could see all this. I could see him sitting at the wheel of his little car in Geneva, where we lived at that time, actually for 4 years, as I was, coming slowly out of infant stage, driving home from work with all this sense of dissatisfaction inside himself, because what she was actually giving him didn't float his boat, as far as, and she kept just trying to be rational and sensible about things, and this is what you need, and you need to, have clean clothes and eat proper food and go to, have sleep and the basic necessities really of life. She was trying so hard to give all that to him, and he couldn't accept it, probably because it hurt too much, and because his mother had too much tension and she was too different from my mother's approach. Her approach and my mother's approach were really different about these things. And there were things in the history of my dad's parents that I don't know anything about, except I can sort of see that there was a lot of dissatisfaction, and there was a lot of also him as a kid not feeling safe and not feeling protected. I've wondered about that dimension for quite a while. I'm telling you all this, I'm putting all this out there because I don't care. I don't care about the niceties and about oversharing and about all the rest of it, because if you want to come and shoot me, you'll find it slightly, not so easy to do that. I don't believe that's actually what I'm inviting here. What I want to do is, for whoever sees this, that actually feels like, okay, that could have been my dad, or that could have been my grandma. I'm trying to show you basically what it is that I do with those people now in 2019. So there are options for us to choose from. We do not have to suffer at the hands of the past forever. Even if it's 50 years, it's not forever. And oh my golly, there's so much that you can do. There's so much that we can basically forge ahead with. And what I am doing is I am basically realizing, as my final point, I think for now, is that it isn't ever really, and certainly now, it is not anymore about the loyalties to, and we are instilled with loyalties to people. But the loyalties, even though they present themselves as I am trying to have the best possible idea about this person, really, do not serve the person. They don't serve you. They don't serve your parents or your dad or whoever it was. The loyalties are a blindfold. And because the idea then behind the loyalty is always that you have to choose a camp. In my case, that's impossible, because that's my 10 of Swords. Being made to choose and then hate the other. And I can't, because they're both inside me. They were fine people, and they sucked at life, and they were nuts. And I hated it. I hated the way they made me feel for almost all of my life. And I hated being a part of this equation, and I am. So all that leads me again and again towards a gate almost of transformation, where I finally realize, because of realizing what's really happened, and also by listening, just listening to the parts inside of me that are squealing in pain, I find out that I am not the squealing. There's worlds behind that. But it takes courage. Like I said yesterday, not only to vlog, it takes courage to sit there with yourself and sort of, you have to accept these vibrations that come out of you as natural. They are your nature. So desperation, anxiety, depression, fear, terror, annihilation, fragmentation, the lot of it, they are healthy reactions and healthy responses. They're normal, and you're not crazy. So on that note, I'm really going to leave you to it. I just imagine a nice red tulip coming to you from the Netherlands, okay? Because you're not crazy, and I'm not crazy. We're not crazy. We're never crazy, okay? And crazy doesn't really exist. There's only people being pushed beyond their limits. So here's to you. Thank you so much for watching again, and see you sometime, okay? And hang in there. Bye bye.